Hello, welcome to Needful Things again. Today we're going to be working on a beautiful scarf. So I've just got my hook. It's a Susan Bates number 9, or an I in the USA, I guess. I have some gray and burgundy sort of. I think they call it mulberry, but it's like a burgundy color. So I'm going to use those two colors because I just have some extra there. So what we're going to start with today is a foundation row without chains. So I'm going to do a little tail, make a slip stitch, then I'm going to chain 4, yarn over, go into the first chain that I did, do one more chain there, then I'm going to yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2 loops. We're doing double crochet foundationless chain row. So now we're going to yarn over, go into that chain that we made, the extra one down there, pull a loop through, chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, go down to the bottom, go into the chain, chain 1, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2 loops. Oops, sorry, dropped my hook. So we're doing a chain with a foundation row with no chains. We're not starting with chains. So that first 3 chains that we have there, that's going to count as a double crochet. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yarn over, go into that stitch at the bottom, that chain stitch. Pull a loop through, make another chain there, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. Yarn over, go into the bottom chain, that stitch, pull up a loop, chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, go through the chain in the bottom, pull up a loop, make another chain, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2 loops. So we're making our foundation row without doing a chain row first, and that way it gives us a little stretch in our stitches. And it's a much prettier edge. It'll look like your edge when you finish at the other end. And they're not so tight together because we're making a scarf. And you know, I don't like it when your scarf is like sort of round at the bottom, and if you do this, you don't have that problem. So you'll keep going, yarn over, go into that bottom of the stitch, pull up a loop, chain 1, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, go through 2 loops. Yarn over, go back into the bottom of that stitch, do the 2 loops, pull up a loop, chain 1, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. And we'll just continue that all the way across until you have 27 stitches in your foundation row. And see, it gives you that little stretch so that your stitches aren't all pulled together. Okay. So just continue until you have your 27 stitches. And I'll be right back when I have my 27 stitches. Okay, so I've got my 27 double crochets for my foundation row without my chain, without a foundation chain. So we're at the end of that. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn our work. Now we're going to count that chain 3 as a double crochet. So we're going to go into the next one. These are worked in the back loop only. Do a double crochet in the back loop of the next 2 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do a puff stitch. Almost looks like a cocoon. So we're going to yarn over, go on the row below into the 4th stitch, and pull up our loop and do it rather loosely like this. You know, give it a little pull up so it's not so tight. Yarn over. We're going to do that 3 times. 2 and 3. Make sure you get under all those bars of the stitch. And pull that up like that. Give it a little pull. Pull it all through like this. Then you have 2 on the hook. Yarn over and pull it through those 2 loops. Okay. Now we're going to have to skip the stitch in the back where we just did that stitch there. So we'll yarn over. That's the stitch where we just put it. So we'll skip that stitch because that's going to count as that one worked. Yarn over, go into the next stitch. Make sure it's the right one. Do a double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Whoops, sorry, excuse me. In the back loops only. So in the back loop, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, all in the back loops. All of these double crochets will be worked in the back loops. Okay, so that was 3. Now we're at the 4th stitch where we're going to yarn over, pull up our puff stitch. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, pull through all the loops and leave 2 on the hook. Yarn over and pull through those 2. Now make sure you skip that stitch, yarn over, go into the next stitch in the back loop only, and do your double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Making sure you only skipped 1 stitch there. Sometimes I get carried away and I miss a stitch. It's easy to miss that first one. But make sure you get it in the right stitch. So now we're up to our next puff stitch. Yarn over, go drop down to the row below. Pull up our 3 loops. Yarn over, pull through all of the loops you just made. Yarn over, pull through the 2 on the hook. It sort of looks like a little cocoon type thing. And then we're going to do the same thing for the rest of our business. We've skipped this one that we just worked. Now we'll go in the back loop of the next 3 and do double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're in the next stitch. We'll drop down the row below. Pull the loops around that post. 2, 3. Yarn over, pull through those loops, yarn over, pull through those 2. And this is what we're doing. And we'll continue to the end of the row doing that. Now we're going to do our last puff stitch around this post below. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, pull through those loops, yarn over, pull through the 2 remaining. And then you should have 3 stitches left in the back loops. 1, 2, and this is a chain on the end, so I'm just going to take the back loop of the top chain and finish off our row like that. Or you can just go through the whole chain if you want to. That's totally up to you. So now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn our work. That counts as our first double crochet, so we'll go on the next one in the back loops only. 1, that's 2, that's 3. We're up to our puff, that's 4. And we'll just go all the way across this row in every stitch, doing a double crochet in the back loops only. Okay, in the back loops only. Just like that across the back. Okay, so you'll continue doing your double crochets, the back loops of every stitch. And even though that's the chain, I only like to work in the back loop of that chain. You can do the whole thing if you want to. Then we'll chain 3 at the end of our row of double crochets in the back loops, turn our work. Here's back to the front piece. And see, now normally when you do like a scarf or something like this, or a piece this small, there's no stretch like that in the bottom row, so it's all squeezed up. But when you do the chainless foundation row, you don't have that. So now we're on this next row where we'll be doing puff stitches again. So we've got our first 3 chains counted as our double crochet. We're going to the second stitch in the back loops only. Do our 3 double crochets like this. Okay, now we're going to yarn over and get ready for our puff stitch, and we're going to do it just like before in the row below around this the post of this stitch. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, pull through those loops, yarn over, pull through the remaining 2, and there's our first puff stitch of the row. And we'll do the same thing we did on the first puff stitch row. Yarn over, make sure you're skipping only 1 stitch there, and go into the next one in the back loops. Do our double crochets, 3 of them. 1, 2, 3, like this. Okay. Okay, so I'm on the same row on this piece that I was using. So now that I've taught you how to do the pattern, I've got 3 on this row so far. It's the same row I was doing here, the second row of puff stitches. So I've done 2 of my double crochets in the back loops. Here's my 3rd double crochet in the back loop. I'm up to my puff stitch. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, pull through my loops, yarn over, pull through those 2. And I'll just continue to do this all the way across till I get to the end. So I have 2 more puff stitches on this row. Making sure to only skip that one and go into the right stitch. Double crochet in the back loops, 3 of those. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, next puff stitch, 1, 2, 3 around the post of the double crochet in the row below. There are 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. You can always make sure to check they line up if you feel like you're getting off. It's pretty easy to stay in line if you just pay attention to what your stitch count is there. You don't need markers or anything. So now we're up to the last puff stitch. Yarn over, 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over, pull through those loops, yarn over, pull through the 2 left, yarn over, skip that 1 stitch, and you should have 3 left. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet in the back loops only, and 3 in the back loop of the chain stitch. Chain 3, and turn your work. And now you've done 2 rows, so you'll just continue, and on the next row we've chained our 3, we're going to turn our work. This is a row of double crochets all the way across the row in the back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 3, 4 because we count the first stitch as, you know, we count this first chain stitch here, this one here. That counts as our first stitch, so make sure you go into the second stitch for your second, for your second stitch, double crochet. And then you'll have your 3rd double crochet here, your 4th double crochet, and so on across until you get to the end of your stitches. You could always count on this row, make sure you end up with 24. It's 24, I'm sorry, 27. I don't know where that came from. So the chain will always count as our first double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you just go across your row. Do all your double crochets, 27 of them in the back loops only. When you get to the end, chain 3, turn your work, and you'll be back on the front where you'll do a row of the puff stitches. And if you need a little bit more help with those, you can back up the video and pause it. It's pretty simple. But before I start going on this one, I will show you one more puff stitch just in case you need it on this piece. So we're at that 4th stitch, post, go under, pull up a yarn, 1, 2, and 3. You have all those loops on the hook plus the one you started with. Yarn over, pull through just those loops you just made. That leaves 2 on the hook. Yarn over, pull through those 2. Go on to your next stitch, skipping that 1 stitch. In the back loops only, do your double crochets. 3 of them. And then you'll be to your next puff stitch. So it's very simple. It's a lot of fun. And it's also another one of those good things you can make for any time of the year, or if you live in a cold place, or make for Christmas gifts or birthday gifts or stocking stuffers or whatever you want to do. So continue with this. And we're gonna have 6 rows of the puff stitches. And this is what I'm doing. You don't have to. You can do it all in one color if you want to. I'm going to do 6 rows of this, and I'll come back and show you how I'm going to do my color change for my red yarn, or mulberry they call it. So I'm going to do my 6 rows and I'll be back. Okay, so I've done my 6 puff stitch rows plus my double crochet rows in between. And I'm going to change to the mulberry color so I can show you how to do the color change. So I've got 1 stitch left. It's in my chain stitch. I'm going to yarn over, find that top chain, go in the back loop of it, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2. And now right here, while I still have those 2 loops on the hook, I'm going to take this piece of mulberry and finish that stitch. And that's how we're going to do it. And then we're just going to do our 1, 2, 3 chains and turn our work, and I'll cut that off. And just turn our work, and we're on the double crochet row. We're going to always, if you're going to change your color, do it on a double crochet row. So I'm doing my double crochets in the back loops on this row here. And that's how we'll change the color. Like so. And I'm just going to cut the silver one off for now. And then what I like to do is, because I have this string here from tying it on, I'm just going to take these 2 and give them a nice little tug, but don't pull it tight. Excuse me. Don't pull it too tight. Just make sure it's secure. I like to do it a couple of times. Just give it in there like that. That'll be sufficient, and you can get rid of that later with your darning needle. Or you can do it right now if you want to, if it drives you crazy. I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. So I'm just going to put it on my needle, run it through my stitches, so it disappears, like so. And you can make sure you weave it in, you know, probably a little more than I did, but. And then you'll just do the same thing with this one. If it's shorter, you can just hit the needle. Oops. And pull it through. Give it a little snip. And your strings are gone. I keep a little stitch marker on my darning needle so I don't lose it. And then we'll be back on our double crochets in the back loops. on my last stitch there. Chain 3, turn your work. Now we're working in our mulberry color, but you see when we do we have that stretch at the bottom, so you don't get, like normally you get that pulled in at the bottom, this don't do that because you don't have that. We did the chainless foundation. So now we're on a puff stitch row. So we did our chain stitches there on the end. Go into the second stitch, back loops only, doing our double crochets. There's the third one, counting the chain on the end. Now we're at a puff stitch, drop down to the row below. 1, 2, and 3. Pull through the loops, yarn over, pull through 2. Now this one could be harder to see. You could lift it apart like this if you need to, because there's the stitch we skip. And there's the next one we go into. It's a darker color, so it's harder to see. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're to our next puff stitch. Okay? One, 2, and 3. And you can change as many colors as you like, or you don't have to change at all. It's up to you. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're at our next puff stitch. And so that's how we're going to work this. And now, so I'm going to do 6, at least 6 rows. I'm not sure how many rows. You can do as many rows as you like of each color. And so just continue doing your double crochet rows, your puff stitch rows, and do that for however long you want your scarf to be. And when I get mine to the length I'm going to make it, I'll come back and show you how we're going to finish it off. Okay? So I'll see you back in a few. Hello, welcome to Needful Things again. We're going to finish up our beautiful scarf. So I've gotten to your last row should be the row of double crochets, like where you began, like that. You end and begin the same with the row of double crochets. And a row of the last row is a double crochet puff row. So you end with your puff stitches. Okay? So I'm on my last row now, so I want to get that done. So we've got our first stitch, and we're doing in the back loops, double crochet. That's 3, counting the chains in the beginning. Then we're now to our puff stitch in the row below on the 4th stitch. 1, 2, and 3. 2 loops, pull it through, done. There's our puff stitch. So we have to complete that row across. And then we have to skip the 1, then we have our 3 double crochets in the back stitches. Puff stitch. Now we skip our stitch, go into this next 3 with our double crochets in the back loops only. Oops. And 1, 2, and 3. And even though that's the chain stitch, I still try to do it in the back loop of the chain so it matches. Okay. Now I'm just going to take a string. Let me see how long these are. Okay, so these cut some pieces of yarn about 9 inches long each. And since this one's going to be 9 inches, when I cut it to seal it off, tie it off, I'll just use this as one of my tassels. So, where's my scissors? So I'll just cut that string about 9 inches there. That's my yarn. I'm done with that. So we'll just pull that through and tie it off. That'll become a tassel, which we will trim off later because it'll probably be too long. So that's the end of the scarf. And what we're going to do now, that was the body. And here's our front. Isn't that beautiful? Now, I don't know what color you did yours in, but now we're going to do the fringe on the bottom. Okay? I haven't trimmed this off yet at the bottom. I will. So if you want it really even, you can just do that and trim it off like that. And I probably will do that later after I finish the other end. So now we're going to get back to our other end. We'll turn it towards the front. And I've just cut up a bunch of these pieces. You can make yours as thick as you want to. And they're 9 inches each. So just pull it through the stitch. Well, I'm going to use see if I can find a smaller hook. Okay, so we'll just pull it through the stitch. Take a piece of yarn, whatever color you want. Do it in half like this. So you have a loop. Just pull it through. Pull it through like this. There you are. You can put as many as you'd like in each one. Go into the next one. And you'll just do that all the way across until you get your fringe on. Usually I just try to go across and then I'll come back and add more, and fill it in, make it a little more full. And I don't care what color I pick up, I'll just put whatever it is. You can do 2 at a time if you want to, but I wouldn't. But I'll show you what it looks like. I've got 2 on there. Just makes a fatter little knot at the end. So you can do it that way. to make it thicker. I've turned off all my air filters and my fan, and there's no sound on in the room at the moment, you know, because I want you to be able to hear me. And my dog, I have a Welsh Corgi here, and she is walking around like it's the end of time. She can't hear, there's no sound. She's like, oh my God, what is it? Is it an earthquake? So you'll just put these across the bottom, and you go all the way across. Do it on both. You have to cut enough to do both ends. If you want yours longer than 9 inches, you can do that too, but I'm just 9 inches and then doubling the 9-inch pieces is what this is. Because, you know, I like fringe, but some people hate it. And you can also, you may have made yours all out of one color. I don't know. I'm not peering into your living room. I could be. Oh, and I also wanted to say that I finally got 500 subscribers, and I'm so excited about that. People think I'm crazy. I'm very excited about that, and I want to say thank you to each and every person that subscribed to my channel. It means a lot, and it really does help. You have to watch, though. Please start watching and subscribe, like, and pass it around. And thank you so much for 500 subscribers. Let's get to 1,000. Just think, if we get enough subscribers and I get enough watch hours, then we can do stuff like the throw along crochets. We can do them together live. That'll be really fun. And probably a lot helpful to some people too. Okay, so I don't know how many I put in there or cut for that. I'm just going to cut that one off that I made initially. It's a little bit long. So here's our scarf. Isn't it gorgeous? Let me see if I can. And the end we have the fringe, the beautiful fringe on the end. Isn't that pretty? So I hope you enjoy this pattern. It's quite simple to make. It's quick. It's fun. If you need a quick gift for someone or, something like that. It's really beautiful for that. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for subscribing. It really means the world to me. Have a wonderful day.